Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Oilers News and Rumours video here at the Hockey Writers. I'm your host, Matthew Zator, and as always, joined in by Brian Swane. Brian, how's it going?
Good, Matthew. Thanks for having me on.
For sure. The Oilers are still about, I'd say, average. They're not blowing the doors off anything, but they're okay. They're not doing as badly as they have in the previous seasons, being below 500 at this point of the season, but pretty close to 500 right now. So
they're benefactors of the Bettman point.
Yeah, right. Yeah, true. And that's sometimes good and sometimes bad, I guess. But you're still losing. But
yes, yeah.
I mean, you get your extra point, whatever. So I want to start with it's a good round number, 15 games into the season. We're closing in on that quarter season mark where you kind of start seeing things kind of settle in. You're seeing trends happen. What have you seen from the Oilers in their first 15 here?
A lot of what we've seen the last couple years from the Oilers in their first 15, which is a lot of inconsistency, a lot of lethargicness, I think, would probably be a good way to put it, and just generally coming out just kind of flat hockey, not a lot of really inspired hockey. That's to be honest, that's what I've seen, and they're not playing up to expectations. But then again, if you've seen this team in October and the early part of November the last couple of years, then this is almost kind of what you'd expect from them right now.
For sure. And I mean, there's been a lot of issues that keep cropping up. And that's a big one is blowing leads. Just this last game had a 2-goal lead and you're thinking, everything's good. They'll easily. But I mean, maybe not. It's happened a lot this season. Going into the third period, they're not secure in the Oilers winning when they have the lead. It happened again. They got blew the lead, tied, and then lost as well. So, I mean, they got a point out of it, which is good, I guess. But, when you have the lead, you should win. I mean, what have you seen from it? I mean, is this something that can be fixed? Obviously, I mean, the previous seasons it has been. But, I mean, it shouldn't be happening.
No, it just doesn't. I guess to answer both your questions, no, it shouldn't be happening, and yes, it can be fixed. And I think, like you pointed out, there's evidence of that in years past. So I think, and maybe that's part of the problem too, is the fact that it has worked itself out, whether they've kind of fixed it themselves or however it's happened. The last few years when they've gotten lots of these terrible starts into the season where they've had issues protecting leads, they've eventually just kind of figured it out, and next thing you know, it's June and they're playing for the Stanley Cup, right? So yeah. I don't know if that's almost kind of a detriment to this team and to all the guys that have been through this now the last couple of years, that they just kind of there's a maybe they don't. I won't say that they don't take it seriously enough, but maybe there isn't as much as a concern because it's just kind of in the back of their mind that, what, it's all good, whatever. We'll kind of float through the first couple of months and it'll all work itself out in the end. And maybe that's part of it. Because I don't have an answer. I don't think anyone does. I can't imagine that even Chris Knobloch does. I don't know. And you listen to the players. I mean, they're asked the same question after every game, and it's just pretty much the same stock, typical responses. And I don't even know if they know why they're like this. But yeah, the lead, the blowing leads is a concerning thing. And but again, the reason it's happening is the same reason that they're just off to a poor start. It's just they just kind of zone out for periods of a game. And the NHL's, there's a lot of good teams. Like their last game to Dallas when they blew the 2-0. They were up 2-0, and then had a 3-1 lead late in the third period. You couldn't hang on to that. It was just, I mean, you know what? Dallas is a good team.
Yeah.
And guess what? They got, you left the door ajar and they took advantage of it. So.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, yes, you're a great team. You can score goals, and any team that has McDavid and Draisaitl on it is, of course, going to always be getting leads. You'd think, right? So, it's something that needs to be fixed. And of course it has been fixed, but like you said, it's maybe that type of thing where you just kind of, you think, oh yeah, we'll get out of this. We'll be fine. But maybe you won't be one time.
Well, that's just it. Right. That's just it. Right. And I think we probably that's human nature, right? And it's probably we all can probably relate to something like that in our personal lives or whatever, right? Where it's just like, yeah, it'll work itself out, and then there's that one time it doesn't work itself out. Then the next thing you know, it's like you wake up and it's March and you're 10 points out of a playoff spot, and
Yeah.
So not that I'm saying it's going to be that extreme here. If it does, then holy cow, this we're going to have a riot on our hands here in Edmonton, and not for a good reason. But I mean that you make a great point there. One of these times, you when you snap your fingers, you won't snap out of it.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. I mean, it's frustrating when you're watching the team and they get a lead and you're not secure that they're going to hold on to it. We'll see if it does work itself out like it has over the last bunch of seasons. So we'll see over their next 15 and with the 30 game mark, maybe how many times it's happened again. We'll revisit that. Another trend that's happening this season is Connor McDavid not scoring goals as much as he's used to in the past. This has actually gone on a few seasons now since he everyone thought broke out and, he's going to be a 50 goal scorer now. He only has 4 goals so far this season, 21 points. He does lead the league in points. So he's back in that familiar position. But do you have any, I know you wrote an article on this of, why is this happening? Do you have an answer of why McDavid has all of a sudden not become as potent of a goal scorer?
No, and that honestly was kind of the point of the article. And I honestly haven't really checked the feedback on that one too much. And that's by design, because I imagine it's going to have upset a lot of people, because my intent with that article wasn't to really, say that McDavid isn't still a tremendous player. It was just I just find it absolutely fascinating that, I mean, he scored 64 goals in 22-23. And at that point, he's only 26 years old. He should just be right on the prime of his career. You're thinking, and he'd had a run of several seasons of 40 goals plus leading up to that. And you're thinking, like, this is who he is. So 64 goals in 22-23. He hasn't even got 64 goals since then. He hasn't. I think he's at like 63 goals total since then now. So it's been like, he's still getting 25 to 30 goals the last couple seasons, which is good. It's just an incredibly steep decline from where he was. And again, he's, like I say, he's turning 29 this year. So he's still pretty young, right? You think he should be in his prime. So it's just, my whole thing about that article is kind of putting the question out there of why has this happened? And number two, his decline in goal scoring has also coincided with the team's greatest success. 23-24 and 24-25, they make the Stanley Cup all seasons.
Yeah.
Because like you say, he leads the league in points this year. He's still racking up the assists. Now, has he just decided to be more of a playmaker? And maybe that's what the others need him to be. So maybe it's not even necessarily a problem. I don't really have an answer for that, and that was kind of the whole point of my article. Is just I find it incredibly fascinating that the guy that a lot of people call the best player on the planet gets 64 goals at age 26, and then suddenly his goal scoring drops by more than half. Yeah, but it's and I just find a lot of people aren't talking about it. I just thought it was really interesting, but. As I also wrote in the article too, to McDavid, he doesn't care how many goals he scores. The only goal for this team is to win the Stanley Cup, and I think that's all that he cares about too. And how can you sit there and be critical of him when the team has reached the Stanley Cup final the last 2 years? Yeah. So if he's just doing what it takes for this team to be successful, then you know what? I'm not criticizing him either. It's just a really strange thing to me that how his numbers have just gone right off a cliff like that.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, you're looking at it and it's like, 30 goals. And it's like, that's a bad season for goal scoring. A lot of guys would be like, I'd love a 30 goal season. Yeah.
I just don't get how you go from 64 to 30. To 25, and at age 26, 27, 28, that just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting to look at that he's declined that much. But I mean, you could point to different things. He doesn't shoot a lot. I mean, I think that season he scored 64 goals. He was shooting a lot.
Yeah, so, he was up like somewhere not quite 6. He was over 5 shots per game. like 5.5, something like that. So I mean that's one of the things. And again, is it just him trying to get his teammates more involved? I mean, the season right after he had his 64 goals, that was the year then that his line mate Zach Hyman erupts for a 50-plus goal season. So, I mean, you can look and you can see these coinciding factors. And again, ultimately, it's helped the team. The team has reached greater heights. So,
yeah. So maybe he doesn't need to score as much goals.
Maybe not.
It would definitely help.
It would help right now. It would very much help right now, for sure. Yes.
For sure. All right. Looking at another guy that we've talked about on these videos before too is Evan Bouchard. He really hasn't rebounded, or he's still struggling. And McDavid gave him a vote of confidence. I believe it was the last game after it. So it's like he's struggling, but his teammates are kind of he's still a big part of the team. 10 points in 15 games. So offensively, he's still pretty good, but he's -8. And those gaffes defensively are still happening. And do you see a way out of this for Bouchard? I know we've talked about it. It's probably just rehashing things, but it's got to turn around, you think?
Yeah. I mean, it was, I guess it was nice to see McDavid stick up for him. And I think that shows you that, for all his troubles, his teammates, they do appreciate him, and he's an important part of the team, and they got his back, and so that's important. It's not like his teammates have. They want him to be part of this team. They know what he brings, and I think the captain McDavid stepping up and kind of going out of his way to do that kind of made an important point. I'm sure that must have been an awful lot to Bouchard to hear that, because to hear that stated publicly. Because he's been hearing it, and I think he's a guy that I think that stuff kind of affects him. But as far as I mean, it's I think we were kind of it was a couple weeks ago when we were last talking, and I mean at that point you could already point to 5-6 instances this season when he just had terrible mistakes and his mistakes always seem to end up in the back of the net too. They're not ones that get cleaned up. And probably since then, there's probably another 5 or 6 examples I could give you. I mean, plus minus is kind of it doesn't paint the whole picture, but it's no accident that he's got one of the worst plus minuses around among defensemen in the NHL. I mean, that's an accurate depiction of things. And as I've you talked about us rehashing it, and I'll probably just give the same answer I did last time. And then I think that this might just be who he is. And now this many years into his career, I don't know if that's going to change. This is just the guy that he is. And you hope that when he's on his game offensively, he offsets what he kind of takes away defensively. One thing that I've kind of thought about here, and I don't know if there's anything to it, but it's kind of occurred to me in the last couple of weeks that, I mean, this is his first season since kind of he really broke out as one of the premier offensive defensemen in the NHL without Paul Coffey. Paul Coffey was basically ran the Oilers defense in an assistant coaching role the last 2.5 seasons, almost 3 seasons really. And I kind of looked at him as the Bouchard whisperer. And it's kind of funny to think that Paul Coffey, who, for any of our younger viewers who don't know, he also was very much an offensive defenseman, not known for his defensive ability, but he knew how to not be a defensive liability. Which I think was one of his better strengths. And I think, I think he kind of was he probably saw some of himself as he saw a lot of the same skills and qualities in Bouchard, and maybe was helping him be less of a liability while still being such a powerful addition to the offense. And so that's one thing that I've kind of thought about as we just kind of try and pinpoint what's going on here with him this season, because it is really bad this year. It's to the point where what he's providing offensively isn't enough to offset what he's taking away from you defensively.
Agreed. And the thing is, I mean, when Ekholm was acquired and he was his partner, kind of maybe a lot of people thought, well, that is it. He's got the right partner now. He still has that partner, and it's bad. And the thing is, that is a good correlation that Coffey's not behind the bench, still with the organization, but not behind the bench anymore. Maybe that is affecting him a bit. I don't know. I mean, that's speculation, of course, but well, it could be. I mean, it's not like maybe it's just a coincidence. I don't know. It is an interesting.
It could be, but I mean, you're right. Like you're right about Ekholm too. You just look at some of the factors and what has changed, and you can see too in his development when Coffey took over the defense. That's when he really clicked. And so I don't know. Again, it's just speculation, but it is, maybe it's coincidence, maybe it's not.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully he can turn it around this season and get back to his just offense and less defensive mistakes, because it was looking pretty good. He still had them, but it wasn't a lot. There weren't a ton of them. So hopefully he can get back to that. All right, let's finish the show with some trade speculation, which has gone around, and we've talked about it. Nothing's happened since we talked about this. Something's going to have to happen as guys get healthy. The latest is Troy Stecher, and there's been a bit of speculation about Stuart Skinner if they get the right deal. I believe it was Bob Stauffer that put this out with Stuart Skinner. But what do you think about this? I mean, Stecher, he's a depth defenseman. It's not going to be a massive deal if he gets traded. I love him as a defenseman. He was with the Canucks for a number of years. Do you think that either of these guys are going to get moved in the near future?
I think Stecher makes sense to me, at least from an Oilers perspective. I've seen Elliot Friedman as well, I believe, has reported on this. So it's, there are some reliable sources now that are bringing it up. So it's a rumor that I think this is one of those where there's smoke, there's fire kind of thing. So I think that's definitely a strong possibility. And you just look at from the Oilers perspective, that they do have to do things to make room on the roster as guys continue to get healthy. And I think that is what makes a lot of sense. And I think it's just a matter of then, finding a trade partner. And I don't know. I'm not sure what the market is for. I like Stecher personally. I don't know if he's much more than. I don't think he's not an everyday defenseman on a championship contending team. I don't think. I think he's maybe a good seventh defenseman for somebody to have, and hopefully, hopefully there's a team for him out there that wants him and can use him and can give him a good home. So I guess we'll see. Yeah, I'm really not sure what the market is, but I don't think the Oilers will be looking for anything more than a late round pick, really, because at this point they just got to get something, because they got to make roster room for him. So I think that's going to happen. I mean, Skinner, who knows? Because again, I think the Oilers do need to upgrade their goaltending, and that's something that we've talked about a lot before. I don't know what the market is for Skinner, though, and I'd be curious what your thoughts would be on that as an outside perspective from Edmonton. Our views here kind of get so skewed because Skinner's in such a fishbowl here, where it's like every loss is kind of pinned on him and whatever, and I don't know what the feeling around the league is about what the value of this guy is and what they see his potential is. Like, are would there be other teams out there where if he's in the right situation that he could actually kind of take that next step and be like an elite top 10 caliber goaltender in this league? Yeah, because he's still not that old.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think Skinner could still be. I mean, you see the flashes of it. He's a pretty decent goaltender. I think he's not top tier, but he's more that mid-tier guy that I think he's a bit unfairly, of course, and any Canadian market, these goaltenders are all unfairly criticized sometimes. Even Connor Hellebuck in Winnipeg, the best goalie in the NHL, he's been criticized too. So it's like, it is tough to see where these guys are. Is it just because the Canadian market that everything is just always criticized with that? So I think he's a decent goaltender. I mean, you see it. I mean, he's led, not him himself, but he's been good enough to get a team to the Stanley Cup final twice. So I don't know.
Well, I got to
think
think that
he does.
experience counts for something too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's a lot of pressure. And he is very young. I think the Oilers trading him, I think, would probably be a mistake, because I think he will actually be a really good goalie for another team. So yeah, I don't know. There is something that, I mean, obviously it probably is not big. I mean, this is speculation with Skinner. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how that all plays out this season, because they have Connor Ingram now, and I don't know where that's going. So yeah,
I mean, that move never really been to kind of put the pieces together on what that trade was all about, other than just maybe organizational depth and maybe wanting to put a little bit of heat on the Calvin Pickard as a almost a kind of a challenger or a contender for the backup role. But I agree with you on Skinner, and it'd be interesting to see, because I think the feeling in Edmonton is that maybe he could be a good goalie, but if the Oilers are going to strike while their window is at its peak right now, he might not be the guy to do that. So I don't know. This team, I don't know.
It's very interesting. Their goaltenders are always under the microscope. So
yes,
it doesn't matter who it is. So we'll see how it all plays out over the next, maybe even the next week or so, as we keep talking here. So thanks, Brian, for coming on, talking Oilers as always. Make sure to check out everything at thehockeybears.com. We got great articles from the Oilers writing team every day. Recaps, takeaways, all that fun stuff, and all the stuff on the Substack. Make sure you're checking that out. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you do that. And all of our other YouTube videos over on the channel there. So take a look at those. But until our next one, we will see you next time.